Hello, friends. Welcome to part one in an introductory series designed to introduce you to the foundations of yoga. So maybe this is your first time ever experiencing yoga. Maybe this is a brush up for you, trying to return to some foundations in your physical posture. But either way, we're going to start from the ground up and start by building more awareness of the practice in body, mind, and the whole system. So I want to start briefly by saying that yoga is that. It's a whole system of different practices that come to us from Indian tradition. And originally, yoga as an idea came to us from the Vedas. And in the Vedas, yoga was described as an experience of union. So now we've come to know yoga as the physical postures, or what we actually call asana shapes. So maybe you've seen different pictures of yogis in asana poses. This isn't yoga itself. This is a yogic practice called asana. And we're going to move through these asana shapes today, along with incorporating some breath and some meditative awareness. And I want to say that the biggest difference between yoga asanas and other forms of physical exercise is this key factor of awareness. So when we're running, when we're exercising, working out in different ways, we might not be encouraged to be as aware of our body moving in space. And yogic practices are designed to build awareness of our whole systems, body, mind, and if you experience or enjoy this understanding of the soul or the spirit, that's also part of the original intention of yoga. Of course, when we come onto our mat, union can mean many things. So the yogic union can be with body and breath. It can be this merging of body and mind. Or maybe if you are spiritually inclined, that's the idea of merging your sort of individual self with something larger than you. So I often talk about this, how we all know the feeling of looking out at beautiful nature. We can feel that in our hearts. We can feel it in our bodies. And that nature that is so much larger than who we are, that's what we can experience in our practice of yoga, to experience that vastness within our own selves. So, tall order for a first foundational yoga practice, but some key insights for you to understand moving forward. So, like I said though, today we're just starting with the foundation, the basics of asana, the poses, and some breath. All right. We'll start, as always, with just some grounding and intention. So I like to rub my palms together just to create some tactile connection to the body, some internal awareness. And then I'll close my eyes. You can join me. Take a deep breath in through the nose. And exhale, just let something go. We start to use the breath as a tool to arrive here in the present moment. So anything that was happening before this experience or anything that's coming after can just invite those ideas to pause for a moment. And we'll start to ground down into right here, right now. Maybe you can take this moment with your hands together at your heart to cultivate an intention for why you choose to show up on your mat and practice. Maybe this is for any physical or emotional pain you've been experiencing. Maybe it's curiosity, the desire to be more mindful. Why do you choose to practice and experience yoga today here on your mat? On your next exhale, start to release your hands down to your thighs, but you can keep your eyes closed. And we'll start to work gently with that key factor of awareness. So I invite you to bring your gaze into a central point inside. Maybe that's the space between the eyebrows, a focus on the chin, or maybe even at the heart center space. Just allow your gaze a place to rest. And start to notice if there's anywhere you might be holding on to tension in the body. Can you take a moment and release your jaw? Release the tongue away from the roof of the mouth. Allow your shoulders to glide down the back. Let your eyebrows be soft. And continue to notice the easeful inhale and a gentle exhale. And we'll sit here for a few moments, noticing where we can soften and where we can find some steadiness with the breath. Maybe once you've softened a bit more, you can start to hear the sounds of birds chirping outside, or notice any other distant sounds, smells that are happening around you. Just notice. What does it feel like when you start to listen to the breath? How does that change your mental space? And follow another exhale to its completion. Let everything go. We'll take a deep breath in together through the nose. And exhale, release something out the mouth. You can start to blink your eyes open. And we'll start to let some of those intentions come alive in the body. So start to inhale, lift your arms up high overhead. Being mindful of the shoulders still drawing away from the ears as you inhale, lift up. And then exhale down, hands through the heart space. And again, we're just noticing, moving the body with awareness. As you inhale, lift arms up overhead. Maybe palms meet, only if it feels comfortable. And then exhale, hands down to heart. We'll take 2 more rounds, just listening to your own breath and moving with intention. Inhale to lift. And exhale, hands through the heart. Final round. Hear the breath as it comes in. And maybe pause for a moment, holding the breath at the top. Exhale, hands through the heart. Hands this time come all the way down to the thighs. As you inhale, we'll start to lift the heart forward and arch the back. Maybe gaze lifts lightly. And then exhale, curl in and contract the spine, drawing shoulders in, chin into chest. Few more rounds like that to awaken the spine as you inhale, lift. And exhale, contract. Continue to hear your breath as you move. Inhale to lift. Exhale to contract. Final round, maybe a bit deeper this time as you feel the spine opening. And maybe exhale out the mouth. Now from here, start to take really any spinal movement that feels good to you. Maybe it's rolling circles with the spine. Maybe it's rolling the head and neck. But just starting to wake up the body. Either if this is the first thing we're doing with our day, or if it's after a day of work, however it might find you. Just notice the state of your body. Maybe roll the shoulders back. And then we'll arrive at center again. Inhale, lift the arms up overhead. This time we'll exhale over to the right side. As right hand comes down, left arm comes up and overhead. Continue to breathe here. As you inhale, lift through the top arm. Maybe exhale sends you down deeper into the stretch. Again, being mindful of the shoulders coming away from the ears. Inhale back through center. And exhale to the opposite side. Hearing the breath as it inflates the rib cage. And exhale sends shoulders away from ear. One more breath where you are. And then the next exhale, we'll roll the top arm down in front of the arm, in front of the face, and start to come into sort of a forward fold over your thighs. Now, if you've been using any cushion or support for your seat, I invite you to move that out of the way for now. And continue to just fold forward, feeling into the lower back. Sending your breath to that space and lengthening the spine. One more deep breath. Exhale, feel tailbone root down toward the ground. Next, inhale, walks your hands forward, as in forward toward your body. And then we're going to shift. You can stay seated as you are to a back stretch, bringing the hands tented behind you. And we'll again inhale, lift the heart toward the sky. But this time you can exhale, maybe deepen the bend in the elbows. And if you feel comfortable, start to release the head back. One more breath in. And then exhale, chin back toward the chest, straighten the arms, hands come to thighs. So the best way to start a yoga practice is with this gentle spinal movement that helps get the body flowing, that starts the energy and the awareness of the breath. So we'll continue that. You can find your way into a tabletop position. So that's going to be your hands underneath your shoulders and your knees underneath your hips. And I'm going to invite you again here to just start taking any movement that feels good to you. So maybe that's swaying the hips from side to side. Maybe that's arching the spine and looking toward the ceiling. And then exhale, curling in, chin into chest. Movements that we've done before, but now just doing them in a different way. Continue to hear the breath. Inhale back through center. And this time we're going to take the knees out wide and exhale, sit back down on the heels. So toes can be touching here, knees wide. And we're going to sit back into a child's pose. Now there's tons of options here. If your arms are long but you're feeling like your head can't rest down and this feels uncomfortable in some way, you can always find a form of support and place it underneath the chest or anywhere on the forehead. The other option here, people sometimes experience pain in the knees, and you can take any form of cushion or rolled up blanket and push it behind the sit bones, and that will just add some more support for your thighs. Option, of course, here to have dual support if you're looking for something to rest your head on, but also need some extra support in the thighs. And we'll pause, just taking a few more deep breaths here in child's pose. This is a pose that you can always return to if you're feeling like the movement is too much or your body needs a break. This is a really good place to sink back and arrive, or you can always find rest on your back. From here, start to move props out of the way if you're using them. And on the next inhale, we'll come back onto hands and knees. Start to re-parallel your knees. We'll extend the hands one full palm print in front of them where they just were, and start to lift up on the backs of the toes. So here we're starting to engage in our half plank shape. So building this from the ground up, you can feel the hands pushing the floor away from you. The shoulders are creating space for the back of the heart to open. Again, shoulders are away from the ears. There's this light drawing in of the navel to the back of the spine, so we know that the core is strengthening. We have engagement through the tips of the toes, and even the thighs are maybe slightly firing by now. Exhale, let all the breath go. Inhale, deep breath in through the nose. And next time as you exhale, we're going to bend at the elbows and lower the chest all the way down to the mat. You can start to lengthen the legs out, send them back behind you. We'll keep hands rooted under the shoulders, tops of feet root down. As you start to inhale, lift up into a cobra pose. So in your cobra, we're focusing on hands under shoulders, elbows are reaching back, shoulders away from ears, and we're not focusing on craning the spine to look up. We want to look just in front of the top of the mat to keep a long line in the spine. From here, we're still engaging the core. We're actually exercising the back core muscles as we inhale, maybe lift up a little higher. Exhale, stay. And to really feel where this is activating, you can lift the hands off the mat. That really puts things into perspective. One more inhale to lift. And then exhale, hands come down, forehead down, top of the mat. Now again, start to tent your fingers off the sides of the mat, and we'll find some more creative movement to open the shoulders. So again, just focusing on getting the body open so that energy can start to flow. You can sway side to side. And maybe that word energy just like rings to you as some sort of woo-woo stuff. But really this is just getting into those creaks and cracks that allow the breath to flow that much more in the body. And I can promise you, you'll start to feel the difference. All right, we'll take one more inhale to lift the heart toward the front of the room. And then exhale out the mouth, come back down. Hands come under shoulders, start to curl toes under. We'll start by just lifting the knees off the mat. So we're engaging the thighs enough to lift the knees, feeling into the strength of the thighs. And then exhale, release knees back down, and we'll find your way back to a child's pose. One inhale here. Exhale. Inhale back to tabletop. So from here, we're going to explore downward facing dog. So this is sort of that quintessential yoga pose. Maybe you've seen it before. Can imagine there's no way you haven't. But we'll start to move the hands one palm forward. And the focus here is that we're bringing awareness into the knuckles of the hands. So you can look down at your knuckles, feel the energy coming down. Weight is in the pointer finger and the thumb, making an L shape. And we're also focusing on rolling the elbow points toward the midline and rolling the shoulders back. You can see how that's a theme, rolling the shoulders away from the ears. So once you feel into this line of energy with the hands and the arms, shoulders rolling open, again, like we're pushing the floor away from us, we'll start to curl the toes under. And the arch in the downward facing dog shape is the same as we've been doing as we arch the spine and lift the gaze. So from here, we'll start to lift up the knees, start to send the hips toward the sky, and as you're ready, exhale, weight downward toward the heels and find the full length of the spine to downward facing dog. You'll release the head down. So again, we're focusing on the spine being long. And it's not important if your heels come down toward the mat. What's most important is that your lower back and spine are protected and safe. So you can always feel good to take a deep bend in the knees, and that will help protect the spine. So we'll take a few more deep breaths here. And then start to inhale, roll forward. We'll come this time and do a high plank pose. So high plank, we're going to have to open the hands again a little bit further forward so they're underneath the shoulders. One more inhale here. Exhale, knees come down. We know this shape. We've been here. Lift the toes up off the ground. Supported plank. Start to bend into the elbows. Chest comes all the way down toward the ground. Tops of feet root. We'll come back into your cobra shape. Heart lifts forward, gaze long. Exhale, forehead back down to the mat. Start to curl toes under. This time we'll lift first to hands and knees, tabletop, and then find your way back to downward facing dog. Hips reach high to the sky. Exhale, energy weight down toward the heels. So you can see elbow points are rolling forward. Shoulders are parting away from one another. Shoulder blades, that is. Hip points are high to the sky. Can have a light bend in the knees. Weight in the forward knuckles. One more deep breath in. Exhale something out the mouth. Inhale up onto your tiptoes, light bend in the knees. As you inhale, we'll start to walk slowly toward the top of the mat. As you arrive here, we'll find a halfway lift, which is hands coming onto the shins, shoulders rolling back, and again, the gaze is just out in front of the mat. We're not trying to gaze up. We're trying to keep the spine long. So here you'll also want to find a nice engagement at the base of the core. One more breath in. And then exhale into your forward fold. Hands can find their way down toward the ground if that's accessible. Otherwise, hands can find their way to opposite elbows. And just let the chin relax. Top of the head roots down toward the ground. You can take light movement here or find stillness, whatever feels best for you. And then start to exhale, release your arms back down toward the ground. We're going to slowly roll up to stand. I like to graze my hands against the shins and the knees, feeling the thighs as you roll the shoulders up towards the ears. And then exhale, find your way to stand. And in your standing pose, You have equal weight on both of your feet. Arms are long at the sides, palms rolling forward to the front. Again, shoulders roll back, and the crown of the head is tall toward the sky. And it's often said that this is the single most important posture in yoga asana. And that's because we're looking to find the steadiness of our mountain pose, this standing pose, in every other pose that we make. So whether we're in a plank pose, whether we're in a warrior pose, the ideal is that we always have equal weight distribution and a tadasana in our body. So we're always seeking what in yoga we call samastitihi. And this is this equal balance. You'll find that in the hatha system of yoga, hatha yoga refers to the balancing of solar and lunar. So our left side and our right side, our left side being our more yin or more feminine side, and the right side being more masculine, we are shifting to find a balance between the two. And so the way we're going to start doing that today, well, we've already been doing it, but specifically in the sun salutation sequence. You'll notice how this was designed intentionally to balance these two energies in the body. So it will start in your tadasana, your mountain pose. Standing at the top of the mat, feet in equal weight, arms long at the sides. And the first pose turns into extended mountain. So you can start to inhale, lift the arms overhead. And then as you exhale, we'll refine your forward fold. Bowing down, saluting the sun. Inhale to come halfway lift, hands to shins, finding that long spine. And then exhale, plant the hands down. We first start by stepping the right foot back. So the more activating masculine side of the body. And then right knee comes down as you inhale, gaze looks forward, still maintaining the length in the spine. As you exhale, hands plant down, step both feet back to find a high plank pose on the inhale. Now, we have two options here. We've done them both already. Option to keep the knees down on the mat, and you can bend into the elbows from here. Other option, keep the knees lifted, move from your high plank pose, and we'll start by bringing chest all the way down to the ground. So together, either knees up or knees down, then we'll inhale back up into a cobra pose. Exhale, come back down. And we'll all meet in downward facing dog. If downward dog isn't accessible for you, feel free to move through child's pose. From here, we move again with the right foot. So you can inhale, lift the right foot back behind you. Exhale, step it through for a low lunge. Left knee comes down. Inhale, shifts your gaze forward. And then exhale, we meet top of the mat, forward fold. Inhale to come halfway. Exhale to release down, forward fold. Inhale rises us back up, extended mountain. Exhale, hands to heart. And we repeat now for the second side, for the yin, the feminine side, believing that we each have these different sides of masculine and feminine within each of us. So we all seek to balance these two sides. All right, we'll begin the left. As you inhale, lift arms overhead. Exhale, forward fold. This time, stepping your left foot back. Left knee comes down as you inhale, look gaze forward. Exhale, you can step back, either both knees on the mat or curling them up, moving through high plank. We'll exhale down to fold to earth. Inhale lifts you up, cobra. Exhale down. Curl chest, curl toes under, and lift up through downward facing dog. We'll take one breath here. Exhale, let it go. And now staying with the left leg lifts behind you. Exhale, steps it through, low lunge, right knee comes down. As you inhale, gaze forward. As you exhale, step to the top of the mat, forward fold. Inhale up halfway, engage the core, lengthen the spine. And then exhale, forward fold, let it go. Inhale, arms all the way up high overhead. Exhale, hands to heart. Release, arms down to the side. So this is sort of your basic Surya Namaskar A. So your sun salutations in its foundation. So we'll move through that one more time for right and left sides. And I always advise that if you don't do anything else in the morning, do one sun salutation, 1 to 6, because they say this will move your spine in all of the way that it needs to be moved, and it opens the psoas, which is the emotional storehouse of the body. It strengthens the thighs, it engages the core. It really works on key muscle groups that we all need to move through our day. So we'll move through the Surya Namaskar A again together. All right, we're standing in our mountain pose. Inhale, lifts arms up overhead. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway. Exhale, plant hands, starting with the right. Right foot steps back, right knee comes down. Inhale to lift the gaze, finding your low lunge. Exhale, plants the hands, and either with knees up or down, we exhale, chest lowers all the way toward the earth. Inhale, lift up baby cobra, tops of feet down, heart looks forward. Exhale, back down, curl toes under. We start to come up to hands and knees, shift hips high, downward facing dog. Starting again with the right side, right leg lifts behind you. Exhale, steps it through, low lunge. Inhale, looks forward. Exhale, forward fold, top of the mat. Inhale to come halfway. Exhale, release. Inhale all the way up through standing, arms high overhead. And exhale, return, Samastitihi, hands to heart. Moving to the left side as you inhale, lift up overhead. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway. Exhale, plant hands. Step left foot back behind you. Left knee comes down. Inhale, lifts the gaze. We're maintaining length in the spine, stretching the psoas. Exhale, hands come down. Start to straighten back through a plank, knees up or down, as chest reaches back down toward the earth on the exhale. Inhale, lifts up, cobra. Exhale, sinks you down. Curl toes under. Find your way to downward dog. Option always for child's pose or any form of rest. One deep breath here. Exhale out the mouth. Staying with the left side, left foot reaches high toward the sky. Exhale, steps it through, low lunge. Right knee down on the mat. Inhale, lifts you forward. Exhale, step to the top, forward fold. Inhale to come halfway. Exhale, release, forward fold. Inhale, arms reach up high overhead. And let's take a moment with the exhale. Pause your hands at heart and just close your eyes and notice. Notice how the body is feeling. If there's heat that's rising. Just start to notice what's here. Release your hands down to the sides. You can shake it out, take some movement. And we'll start to grow this with our Surya Namaskar B. So we just did A, we'll shift into B, and this just adds on a few more strengthening poses. I usually like to start with A and then move into B in my own practice. So we'll start again, starting top of the mat. But the first pose in this sequence is a chair. So you're gonna bend into the knees, draw the weight into the heels, bum comes back behind you, arms reach up and overhead. Again, we're focusing on the length in the spine. So the deeper you can sit back and curl the tailbone under to lift the gaze and lift the arms. We'll stay here one more breath, breathing in, breathing out. One more inhale. And then exhale back into your forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift, hands to shins. And this time we exhale, plant hands, and just step both feet back into high plank pose. Option as always, knees can be up or down. And this time we'll add the special bonus of you can either come all the way down or you can come halfway down into a chaturanga. We'll inhale either baby cobra or this time upward facing dog. And exhale back, downward facing dog. Take one breath here. And then exhale, we'll all come down onto our knees. And I just want to break down those two postures for you pretty quickly. So when we step back in our Surya Namaskar B into your high plank, the option to come down halfway, called the chaturanga, you're going to shift weight forward so your shoulders stay over your wrists. And as you come down, you want your elbows at a 90-degree angle. And then as we lift up into upward facing, the knees come off the mat, tops of feet root, shoulders away from the ears, gaze looks up. And if you move right into your downward dog, you can curl over the tops of the feet and find downward facing. So let's all meet back in downward facing dog. From here, inhale up onto the tips of the toes. And as you exhale, we'll lightly bend in the knees and step to the top of the mat. Inhale to come halfway. And exhale to release down, forward fold. Our next inhale, keep the bend in the knees as you come back into your chair pose. And as you exhale, we come back to standing in mountain. All right? So that is like Surya Namaskar B, step one. So we added on chair pose, we added on the chaturanga, and the option to come up into upward facing. And now we'll add one more pose, which is the warrior one. So join me. We start in the chair. So sinking your knees down, hips back. Inhale, arms lift overhead. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway. Exhale, plant hands, step back to high plank. Knees up or down. Option to float to earth or through chaturanga. Inhale to upward facing or baby cobra. Exhale back, downward facing dog. Now to add on here, we start with the right and then we go to the left. So inhale, right leg looks back behind you. Exhale, steps it through for a warrior one. So start in a lunge shape. You'll step the foot between the hands. And if you're having some trouble bringing the leg through, you can always just take the leg, step it up to meet the top, or find some added support underneath your hands. Now with the back foot, you can keep it as it is with the heel lifted, and this will be more of a lunge shape. And this feels better in some people's hips. So for lunge and warrior one, we're focusing on hips moving forward, hips being parallel. But if it feels good in your body, you can also take the left heel, bring it down on the ground, and you want more of a front heel to back heel alignment. So you can look at that, finding the heels in line. If they feel better with some more space, you can also notice that too. All of our hips are different. And then start to bend into the front knee. Draw the arms up overhead. So this video makes it really nice to have to check my alignment. So what we're focusing on is the knee tracking over the ankle. We don't want to be moving it too far forward, and we don't, unless we need to because we're tired, keeping the legs straight. So we want to make sure that the knee is coming above the ankle, and it's going to feel really good for our back foot if we roll all the way onto the edge of the pinky. So we're focusing again, like our standing pose, that we have equal weight in both feet moving. And then with the upper body, we're keeping both hips parallel, aiming to track forward. Inhale, lifts the arms up overhead, shoulders roll back and down, gaze looks forward. And if this feels comfortable and confident for you, you can start to send the gaze up and maybe adding a light arch of the spine. Next, exhale, hands come down to frame the foot. An option to take another vinyasa if you're looking to build heat. And that vinyasa means we bend into the elbows, come halfway or all the way. Inhale, lift up into your back bend. Exhale sends you back, down dog. But at this point forward, I would say absolutely all of those are optional and your decision. We'll move into the left side. Inhale, lifts left leg up and back. Exhale, steps it through, low lunge. Now, option to stay here, up on the back toes with the heel lifted, or option to bring the right heel down on the mat, being mindful of what placement feels best for the hips. And then as your next inhale comes in, inhale, lift arms up overhead. And I like to exhale, sink a little bit deeper in the front thigh. So again, noticing the placement of my knee over ankle, the tracking of my right hip coming toward front, ideally working toward this parallel center, but that looks different in absolutely all of our bodies. Exhale here, and maybe inhale, arch the back, gently look up, find that little easy back bend. Exhale, hands come down to frame the foot. Step it back to high plank. And if you're really feeling it, feel free to flow here. But I'm just going to shift back, downward facing dog. We'll take a few breaths here. You can rest in down dog. You can find your child's pose. Can you tell I need a child's pose? We'll take about 2 deep breaths. Breathing in and back out. 1 more deep breath. Exhale, let it go. We'll all meet in downward facing dog. Weight in the knuckles. Hips go high. Inhale onto tiptoes. Exhale, light bend in the knees. Step toward the top of the mat. Inhale comes up halfway. Exhale, release down. Inhale up, chair pose. Bending into the knees, weight in the heels. Gaze looks forward. Exhale back to your mountain pose, Tadasana. And I invite you to shake that out a little bit. Move in your body, keep everything flowing and alive. One of the best cues I've ever been given as a student is that yoga is designed to keep energy flowing. And so if you ever feel like you're in a pose that's stopping the breath or that's stopping healthy movement in the body, where can you ease up? Where can you create space for the body to feel more ease, for the breath to feel more ease? All right? So we'll take one more round of Surya B to get that feeling in the body, and then we'll start to cool down. All right? So top of the mat, weight in the heels. As you inhale, find chair pose. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway, hands to shins. Exhale, plant hands, step back, high plank pose. Option for knees up or down as you bend into the elbows, halfway or all the way. Inhale into your back bend of choice. Exhale, downward facing dog. On the inhale, right leg lifts up and back. Exhale, steps it through. Option for a low lunge into a high lunge. Or option to bring the back heel down, rise up, warrior one. One breath in here. Exhale, back down to frame the foot. Option to step through a vinyasa sequence, bending into the elbows. Or we can meet downward facing dog. One breath, maybe two together. And then as you're ready, inhale, lift the left leg high. Exhale, steps it through for your lunge or your warrior one with the back heel down. Inhale, maintains the front bend in the knee, arms lift up and overhead. Inhale. Exhale, down to frame the foot. And step back. Option to shift from high plank to down dog. Option from high plank to vinyasa, bending into the elbows. Inhale, lifts up chest. Exhale, back, downward facing dog. One deep breath here. And some noise on the exhale. Inhale, lift up onto tiptoes. Exhale, light bend in the knees. We'll step toward the top of the mat. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, release down. Inhale into your chair pose. Deep bend in the knees, arms lift. Weight in the heels, finding the squat. One more inhale. Exhale, arms down at the sides. Standing, close your eyes. Let everything relax and just notice. It'll be different for all of us, but I quite enjoy this feeling of my heart beating, feeling like the energy, the fire is rising. Just genuinely makes me feel more free. Start to inhale, lift your arms up overhead. No more flows, I promise. Exhale, we'll come all the way down, forward fold. Deep bend in the knees that will sit you back onto the ground. So take your sits bones all the way back. And if you're like me, it can feel really good to move some of the extra flesh off the sits bones. And we're gonna start to find a really gentle staff pose here. So staff pose is before we fold, and it's just acknowledging the engagement in the thighs and the shins and the core. So we'll take the hands behind us, fingertips pointing forward, and depending on arm length, this is going to be either a bend in the elbows. For me, you can notice if I straighten my arms, my shoulders start to look up toward my ears. So it's nice for me to have a light, gentle bend in the arms. So you'll notice what feels best for you, and then set the gaze forward. Engage the thighs, maybe even the heels of the feet lift up off the ground. We maintain engagement in the core. There's a light pressure of the hands rooting down toward the floor. And this is just like as if we were standing, actively engaged, but now we're seated. So feeling that same equal weight, samastitihi, in the legs, in the arms. One more breath in, everything engaged. And then exhale, let it go. Feel the legs shift into a more restorative zone. And we'll start to tent onto the fingertips. This too will be different for all of us as we start to fold down. So I like to start with hands at the sides. I draw my navel in toward the chest and start to walk and fold down. And we're not looking here to overstretch. We're just looking to lightly stretch the hamstrings. So when you notice sensation, I invite you to just pause there. Can continue to breathe. And then as that sensation shifts, maybe you start to walk the hands down a little bit longer and feel into a new sensation. If you're starting to feel what feels like unpleasant sensation in the lower back, which happens for a lot of us who maybe work at computer desks all day, it can be really nice to add just a light prop underneath the sits bones. And this just helps with a light lift so that you can fold a little bit deeper. So our goal here is that we're getting a long spine, but we're also getting a light stretch in the hamstrings. So take about 2 more deep breaths here. And then start to inhale, walk the hands back in toward the hips. You can remove any support if that was needed. And then we still have a few more postures before we shift into final rest, but you can start to lay back down on your backs. So legs will be long out in front of you, arms wide to the side, and just let everything go. For a moment, exhale. Listen to the pace of the breath. Feel its steadiness. And start to draw your feet in towards your hips. Tee your arms out wide to the side. And from here, lift your knees in toward the chest. And we'll start to rock the knees over to the left side. So knees go to the left. They can stay together and gaze shifts over to the right. So just shifting into a final twist here. Breathing in deeply to the nose. Maybe you exhale some sound or some sigh out the mouth. We'll be here for another 5 deep breaths, so using this time to restore, to nourish, to start to calm down the breath and the body. One more deep breath where you are. And again, maybe exhale a sigh or a groan or any noise out the mouth. Inhale, knees come back through center. And this time we exhale, take them over to the right side as gaze looks over to the left. Continue to breathe here and notice any places that we're holding on a bit too tight. Can we start to let go? Taking another 5 deep breaths where you are. And just listening to any lingering thoughts that might be cropping up. And just being mindful to them. No need to shift or to change, but always again to notice. To become aware of them. One more deep breath where you are. Exhale, let it go. And inhale your knees back through center. We'll take 2 more gentle poses here. Shifting into happy baby. As you bring the knees out wide, you can draw hands to the outsides of the shins, or maybe the ankles, or if it's accessible, you can find the outsides of the feet. An option here to stay in stillness, or you can just simply rock the body left and right. Couple more deep breaths where you are, getting into the hips. And next exhale, release the grip you have on the toes, on the feet or the legs, and start to lift the legs up long toward the sky. And then you have a couple of options here. If you have a cushion nearby, it can be really nice to take that cushion or any pillow you might have at home, bring it underneath your sacrum, and start to lift the legs toward the sky. This is a variation of legs up the wall. Feels really nice as sort of a final inversion to draw all the blood from the legs and allow it to stream back into the heart. Feels really good to close like this before our final rest. And then the other option, of course, if you're near a wall, or maybe you want to do this in the future, this is incredible for restoring energy and just finding calm, either before you go to sleep at night, or if you're ever needing a moment after work, you don't have time to nap, but you just need like 5 minutes of rest. I fully recommend doing legs up the wall. So what this will look like, so you can take one of your sides of hips to the wall, start to lie down, and draw the legs up to rest on the wall. And arms can find any sort of expression, either overhead or out to the side. I also like to rest my hands on my belly. You can just feel into the support of the wall to help hold you up. And this allows the legs to really relax and to restore that energy back in toward the heart. So we'll be here for another 5 breaths or so. So just finding the variation that works best for you. You can start to wiggle the toes, maybe roll some circles with the ankle. And if you're at the wall and you want to stay here for Shavasana, totally welcome. If you're lying onto your mat, you can start to extend the legs out long and shifting into your final Shavasana. And maybe even more so than down dog, this is the true quintessential posture in yoga. This Shavasana or corpse pose, the pose of surrender. And so being mindful too that we're using this posture to be open. So you can really take up space, let your legs be at least mat width distance, allow your arms to be wide. And any control or mindfulness you have over the breath or even the mind here, I just invite you to let it go. And notice if you can shift into the seat of the observer. We start to notice the breath. And maybe in particular, noticing the exhale as it leaves the body. And just like as we started, can you notice any points in the body that we're maybe still holding on to tension? And where can you invite some more softness? Noticing the jaw releasing. Noticing a relaxation in the facial muscles, in the shoulders, in the heart, in the hips, in the knees, and the ankles. Let the whole body release and expand. I'll leave you here for another few moments to rest in Shavasana. So take this time in stillness, in pause, in rest. As you're ready, start to draw some gentle movement back into the fingertips and the toes. Maybe you let a yawn in through the mouth, or maybe as you inhale, you find a full body stretch with the arms overhead and exhaling out into the toes. Almost as if we're reawakening for the first time. As you're ready, you can start to come lying on your right side body. And we do this again because of spreading the energy throughout the body. So we have the heart on top when we lie on our right side. And this just allows all of that blood and intention to circulate and move around the body. You can pause here for a few breaths in this fetal position, feeling into that compassion and holding within yourself. And only as you feel ready, you can start to join me as we begin in a comfortable cross-legged seat. And maybe you keep your eyes closed and still enjoy this peaceful awareness from the inside. I invite you to draw your left hand onto your heart, your right hand on top. Showing some gratitude for yourself, for stepping onto your yoga mat, either for the first time or to be like a beginner again for the first time. It amazes me after so many years of practice and falling in love again and again with these postures that they always send me right back to this space. The space behind all of our hands, this space of union, of connection to body, to breath, to mind, and to that experience of looking out in nature, knowing that there's something so much larger than me. So may you continue to return to your mat as a place to discover and explore and go deeper inside of yourself. Thank you for taking this time with me. And we'll close in the traditional way, the saying that comes from India primarily as a greeting, which we've adapted in the West to close yoga classes. But it's a greeting that means the light in me honors the light in you. So we draw our hands into Anjali Mudra, bringing your thumbs at a point between the nipple line, right at the center of the chest. This stimulates a notable acupressure point that helps to stimulate compassion, love. And we bow our heads in gratitude. The saying, I think you might know it well, is Namaste. Thank you. Thank you for practicing with me. And like I said, may this continue to find you in your life. Thank you. Thank you.